Before I turn to the topic of the hearing, I feel compelled to address the Trump administration's latest actions on Iraq and Iran. This morning, I woke up to the news that the administration announced it was ordering the departure of U.S. embassy staff from our embassy in Baghdad and our consulate in Erbil. There are only two reasons for ordering their departure. We have credible intelligence that our people are at risk or in preparation for military action in Iran. The Senate Foreign Relations Committee is charged with writing the laws that authorize the use of military force and of the oversight of the State Department and the safety of those who work there. And yet, the Trump administration has not provided any information to this committee on the intelligence behind their decisions or what they plan to do in Iraq or Iran. And I have repeatedly reminded the administration of its responsibilities to this committee. Mr. Chairman, I hope you'll join me in asking the administration to immediately provide this committee with a briefing on the decision to order the departure of the embassy staff, the intelligence on what Iran may be planning to do, and any plans to go to war with Iran. I would add that while a briefing for all senators is rumored for next week, that is no substitute for directly briefing the committee today when there is clearly actionable intelligence available, nor is that timeline itself acceptable. Finally, I want to make 2 points absolutely clear on the policy towards Iran. First, we need a diplomatic surge on Iran to meaningfully engage our allies and Iran in serious negotiations to end its pathway towards nuclear weapons and its malign activities. And second, Congress has not authorized war with Iran and the administration. And if it were contemplating military action with Iran, it must come to Congress to seek approval. I've spent the better part of 2 decades focused on stopping Iran's quest for a nuclear weapon and attacks against our allies, including Israel. There is a right way to pursue that policy and that goal, which I believe we all share, and I know that the chairman and I in that respect have common cause. And there's a wrong way to do it, a way that endangers our allies, our interests, and our people. And I am deeply concerned the administration is pursuing a policy that leads us to that wrong way. Now, let me thank you as it relates to this hearing for convening this on the future of arms control policy. It seems especially appropriate to hold this hearing on a day that we are honoring Senator Richard Lugar, whose civil and effective leadership of this committee is a model that we should all strive to follow in our efforts to advance U.S. interests around the world. Our country and the entire world are safer thanks to Senator Lugar, as well as his ranking Democratic colleague, Senator Sam Nunn, and their collective efforts to promote sustained, tough diplomacy that led to the destruction of thousands of nuclear warheads in the former Soviet Union. Undersecretary Thompson and Deputy Undersecretary Trachtenberg will welcome you back to the committee, but I hope you'll be more forthcoming than you were the last time you visited. In September, you testified that Russia continued to violate the INF Treaty. You provided no indication that the United States was immediately considering withdrawing from the treaty, nor that there were any near-term military operational benefit for doing so. Yet, just 1 month later, after a campaign rally, President Trump suddenly announced, without any notice or consultation with the Senate, that the United States was unilaterally withdrawing. Unfortunately, this is part of a troubling pattern of the State Department failing to comply with fundamental legal congressional requirements. Just last month, the administration submitted an unclassified version of the annual Arms Control Reliance Report, which, quote, assesses U.S. and other nations' compliance to all arms control, non-proliferation, and disarmament agreement that the United States is a party to. This year's report fails to even mention a variety of critical arms agreements and was only 12 pages long in comparison to last year's report, which was 45 pages. In your submission to Congress, the department promises to provide a longer version of the report after a declassification process has occurred. That's not acceptable. The administration has legal requirements it must fulfill. Given the lack of strategic forethought and planning apparent in the administration's hasty decision to withdraw from the INF Treaty, it's vital the U.S. government reemphasizes effective arms control as an integral part of nuclear deterrence and strategic stability. That is why I, along with Senator Reid and Senator Warner, introduced the New START Policy Act of 2019, which calls for a 5-year extension of the treaty until February 2026, unless the President determines Russia is in material breach of the treaty. I was very pleased to see a similar bipartisan bill introduced in the House, co-sponsored by House Foreign Affairs Chairman Engel and his Republican counterpart, Ranking Member McCall. And I'm hopeful we can forge a similar bipartisan approach to arms control here in the Senate. Extending New START would be, in my mind, an easy decision. Intelligence officials have explained how the treaty's verification regime, including short notice and on-site inspections at military bases and facilities, provide the United States with its important insight into Russia's core capabilities, including its strategic nuclear delivery systems, warheads, and facilities. The commander of the United States Strategic Command, General John Hyten, testified that he was a big supporter of New START and that the treaty provides, quote, insights into the Russians' capabilities which are hugely beneficial to him. It's very difficult to understand why the administration would discard the robust constraints, transparency, and verification measures of New START with nothing to replace them. Finally, I'm looking forward to hearing additional details on 2 other important issues. First, we continue to wait for the imposition of chemical weapons sanctions on Russia for the assassination attempt on Sergei and Yulia Skripal in the United Kingdom. These sanctions are more than 5 months overdue, and I would like to know why. Second, I was pleased to hear that the Secretary raised election meddling in his recent meeting with President Putin, and I hope you provide some insights into whether the Secretary discussed the administration's new effort to bring both China and Russia into a new arms control effort. To be clear, I welcome the administration's efforts to expand the scope of arms control negotiations. However, given the challenges inherent in reaching new agreements with Russia and China, I strongly believe the limitations and verification measures of New START must remain in place while any such negotiation occurs. And this new initiative must not serve as an excuse for suddenly withdrawing from another international agreement. If new agreements can be reached, they should add, not subtract from our existing arms control architecture. So I look forward to the witnesses' testimony in our discussion today. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.